Hello, everybody. You have tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Hello, everybody. How you doing? We're here today talking a little bit about a couple things. Number one, we're going to go ahead and show you what happened with the key and the duct tape. In the guilters, for the guilters, this will be, something they can be happy about, because it doesn't appear that much of the duct tape glue has come off the way that I did it, where there's only basically one edge of duct tape even showing. And I did this experiment this way because I wanted to be on the side of caution. I want to assume that it was done in a way to minimize the amount of duct tape adhesive that might come off onto the key. So anyways, it's been like, 7 days, 8 days, whatever it is. And so I'll just show it to you here real quick. The lanyard that I kind of created here for it. And it is getting kind of roughed up, by the way, down here. Where it was through the key. I mean, it's getting kind of roughed up. You can see that the tape is actually starting to peel up a little bit. Let me see if I can get you a good shot of that. So you can see like the tape basically right about there is starting to come up. You can see a dark, let's see if I can get a better angle of that. Right, there's a dark spot just kind of like right there. Anyway, that's where the tape's kind of coming up, and ultimately if I kept this on for 20 days or so, it probably would end up getting something on there. But we'll go ahead and cut it off here, and we'll examine the key a little bit closer, and we'll see that really nothing came off onto it. So the key itself is clean. You can see that in there's no gummy, adhesive or anything like that. Back it off a little bit so it gets a little better focus. But you can see that there's basically no duct tape adhesive in there. And like I said, the tape itself was getting kind of beat up in the part right there where it was going through the key. So it was a matter of time before it started, peeling up. So if Teresa kept it on for a while as a memento of the trip or something, if she kept it on maybe a couple weeks, might have made it, a little difference. So I don't know that happened though, so I'm not even gonna, bother speculating on it. So the guilters get to celebrate. Yay, the duct tape experiment yielded no positive results. Anyway, so to move on, we're also going through, basically this is going to be the final, CASO, the new CASO, the 2.0, the last basic end of it, and essentially it ends off with the interview of Bobby Dassey. So we're going to see a few things here from Bobby. I'll say this, is as disturbing as I found some of the things that Scott said. I found some of the things that Bobby said equally, disturbing for kind of the same reasons, that the story the things that they say don't seem like they're true. And with Bobby, I know that a couple things he said in here are just not true. It's I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what those things are here coming up. But he's also the other main thing is we all remember, or most of us remember, we've listened to the call between Stephen Avery in prison and Scott and Barb Taddick. And we heard that call, and we heard Barb saying that, Bobby says she left. We all know she left. We all know she left. Scott and I know she left. And she said it a few times in the call or whatever. Well, that's not what Bobby's saying. So Bobby didn't get the memo, I guess, or something. I don't know. But where Bobby was saying that, but then when the investigators were in front of him, putting all that white-hot spotlight on him again, maybe he decided he didn't want to change with what he'd said before, and he was intimidated into telling that same old story again. Who knows? But it's clearly just a bizarre situation. But so we're going to go into some of the things that he said here. And and we'll, see what we think of it. I mean, it's. I'll point out a couple things that, just like I said, are just basically flat out not really true. So, anyway, we'll move into the first bit of it now, and we'll come on back. What we're going to be looking at right here is where Bobby now is apparently, after Barb said that he's now saying she left. That's what Barb said on the prison call with Steven. And that her and Scott now know she left. Here is Bobby telling investigators the opposite. So, just like I say with Bobby, I mean, there's just no way to believe a word that comes out of his mouth at this point, because there's no consistency in any kind of way with him or Scott, and that is a really huge problem. But right here he is, back to the same old story that Teresa never left. Bobby was asked if he had seen Teresa on the Avery property on 10/31/05. Bobby stated he had seen her. Bobby stated after he had awoken to go deer hunting, he looked out the front window of his mother's, Barb Yonda's, residence and saw Teresa's vehicle parked opposite to a van that his mother was going to sell. Bobby described his mother's van as being a maroon Dodge Caravan. Bobby stated the lady got out, started taking pictures, and at this point, he got ready to take a shower before hunting. Bobby stated the lady was alone. Bobby stated he spent a couple of minutes in the shower and then got dressed and looked out of his window again. Okay. And saw the lady walking toward Steven's trailer. Okay. Does anything here strike you as odd? Because he says she gets out and starts taking pictures. Okay, at that point he goes and takes what he calls a 2-minute shower, and then has to get dressed, right? And then comes to look back out that window, and Teresa's just barely started walking towards Steven's trailer after, I would have to say, at least 3 minutes. Okay, it's not like Auto Trader does these huge 3 or 4 page spreads on vehicles. No, it's basically two angles of the vehicle, or maybe a third angle, possibly. Sometimes only one, just one picture of a vehicle. So it's not like she needed to be there taking hundreds of pictures, right? And yet somehow when he gets done taking a shower and getting dressed, she's just at that point barely walking towards Steven's trailer. Yeah, I don't know. That strikes me as odd. So Bobby stated he spent about maybe a couple seconds looking out of the window, and during this time she was halfway to Steven's trailer. Bobby stated he did not see anyone else in the area other than the lady. Bobby stated that when he went out to his vehicle, he did not see her when he got to his vehicle. Bobby stated he had no idea who she was, so he really did not pay a lot of attention. Bobby stated the vehicle was still there when he left to go hunting. Bobby stated he did not hear anything during this time when he was did not hear anything during the time he was walking to his vehicle. Bobby indicated he did not see Teresa leave the property. Bobby was asked if he ever saw Teresa after he saw her walking towards Steven's trailer, and he stated that he had never seen her after that. Bobby stated he never saw Teresa leave the property. So we all remember the prison phone call between Scott and Barb and Steven, where Barb clearly and emphatically states that Bobby now says she left, and that her and Scott know that she left. Apparently Bobby wasn't given the memo, because that's not what he's saying. He's telling the same old story that I am pretty damn sure he was bullied into telling in the first place. So that's where that's at. Okay, so yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. What was Teresa doing for 3 minutes while he was showering and getting dressed? And and to take that short of a shower and be getting ready to go hunting that quick, what was his hurry? Number one. And if he was in a hurry, why was he busy looking out the window to see who was there? I don't know. There's just some issues with that statement that I have that is just, it just seems odd. But most particularly is the fact that he thinks, the fact that his account kind of requires you to put Teresa sitting there on pause while he's in the shower and getting dressed. And then as he gets back to the window, she's walking towards Stevens. Because, like I said, she didn't need to take a whole bunch of pictures. I mean, she might take more than one just to have a couple to decide which one to put in. So she might take, 2 or 3, right? This is not going to be like, a photo shoot where she's like setting up lighting and, it's not. It's nothing like that. So, I don't know. It's, to me, implausible that she was just standing there for 3 minutes while he was taking a shower and getting dressed. So, I don't know. That's my issues there. But anyway. So now we move into his statement where he says that the computer was never in his bedroom. Which he could have just said not at the time. Not at the time on October 31st or whatever. Because we've already had statements from like Barb and other people that, yeah, the computer was in that room. They remember it being in that room, but they don't remember the exact time period that it was in that room. So there's a dispute as to whether or not it was actually in his room on October 31st. So there's a dispute of that. But what there's not, so when he says that it was never there, when there's already a couple people, accounts that say that it did spend some time in there, well, it's just why would you make an obviously false statement, or at least a seemingly false statement? I gotta believe multiple other people were lying about where the computer was for a period of time, and they just don't remember which period of time and if that period of time coincided with October 31st or not. But there are accounts that it was in that room at some point, at least for a while. So, yeah. So that's my issue there. So now we're gonna go ahead and move into that. Okay, so here we have Bobby denying that the computer was ever in his room. Bobby was asked where his mother's computer was located in his mother's residence in October of 2005. Bobby stated he thought it was in the living room. Bobby was asked if it was ever in his bedroom, and he stated it was not. Now, I've already heard at least a couple different accounts that computer did spend some time in Bobby's room. It's in dispute as to whether or not it was in Bobby's room on the 31st, but there is no dispute. I've heard a couple different accounts that say that the computer did actually reside in Bobby's room at some point in time. That to me is kind of a concrete thing. And here's Bobby saying that it was never there, wanting to completely say that it was never there. This is why I have trouble believing anything Bobby says, because I can see dishonesty in things that he says, and then that makes me wonder, why is he being dishonest? And I have to sit here and unravel a whole web of deceit to try to figure out what's causing him to be dishonest here. All I can say is he's being dishonest, and that's troubling. So Bobby stated he had a 10 by 12 bedroom, and there was not much room in the bedroom after putting in dressers and beds. Bobby stated he thought he shared the bedroom with his brother, Brian. And Bobby stated Brian eventually moved to the downstairs portion of the residence, and this may have taken place before 10/31/05. The downstairs portion of a trailer? I'm sure there's some reason why that would make sense, possibly, but I don't understand what that's referring to. So I'm not sure where this place Brian was sleeping is. Could be, maybe, I don't know. Was there maybe they dug out a basement underneath the trailer. Who knows? So anyways, this is just another occurrence for me of Bobby saying something that is kind of obviously not true. Like I said, I've seen a couple different accounts that computer did in fact spend some time in that bedroom, but whether or not it was there on the 31st of October seems to be in dispute. But there seems to be no dispute about the fact that it did spend some time there. All right, this next part deals with the Michael Osmonsen situation. Okay, as I said before, we already know that Michael Osmonsen asked Steven, about, do you have that girl in here somewhere or something like that. That's what precipitated the conversation. And Steven gave him a flippant answer, basically yeah, you want to help me bury the body or whatever. Okay, Bobby is now saying that Steven just walked into the garage, said that, laughed, and left. That's essentially Bobby what he's saying right now. I believe Michael Osmonsen's account that he gave in CASO. You know why I believe it? Because it's closer to the time when all this stuff actually happened. And that's when the memory was fresher, and we're getting a truer story. Because what we're getting here is nothing like the statement that Michael Osmonsen made, where he was joking around with Steve and asked about that. Bobby even goes as far as to say that this day in the garage was before any news media or whatever, which was on the 4th. Okay, that's Friday. Okay, that's Friday. You're telling me there was no media about the disappearance of Teresa Halbach on Friday? Yeah. So I mean, just certain things that don't ring true. You know. That's all I can say. It just doesn't ring true. So we're going to take a look here. So here's another statement that can just be obviously disproven. We know now that it was the statement of Michael Osmonsen that brought this whole situation about the disposing of a body and all that. You know, conversation between Michael Osmonsen and Steven. All right. It's clearly established that Michael's statement was he was messing with Steven and said, did you kill that girl or whatever? And then Steven said, because Michael Osmonsen had said that, Steven made a remark back to him like, oh yeah, you want to help me hide the body. See, but the way that Bobby represents it right now, he acts like Steven just walked up into the garage like, oh, hey guys, want to help me hide a body? And he doesn't represent it the way it happened, where his friend Michael Osmonsen is, asking Steve about it. And when that happens, Bobby Dassey is actually on the other side of the garage where the deer is, kind of not real close to where Steven and Michael are standing and talking. But anyways, Bobby discussed Stephen Avery talking to him and Michael Osmonsen about the disposing of a body. Bobby stated he had gotten a roadkill deer the same day, and he and Michael Osmonsen were in the Dassey garage skinning the deer out. Bobby stated Steven came over and asked if they wanted to dispose of a body. Bobby stated Steven was alone when he came over and asked the question. Bobby stated he thought Steven was joking around. Bobby stated this exchange took place in the afternoon hours. Bobby stated he told Steven no, and at that time Steven turned around and walked out. Bobby stated Steven laughed after making the statement. Now that doesn't resemble at all the statement that was given by Michael Osmonsen in the original CASO reports when it was fresher in people's minds. And Michael Osmonsen clearly states that he asked Steven, like, did you kill that girl or something like that prodded Steven to make that flippant remark back to Michael Osmonsen. And this, to see Bobby misrepresenting it here this badly is very, very disturbing. So, really, like I've said before, in my opinion, we're not getting the truth because there's too much of an intimidation and a fear and a lot of other things going on that are causing the truth to stay, hidden or at least obscured at this point in time. But I don't think it can last. What I've come to learn is that there's an entire world out there that are still paying attention to this, that still have an interest in this fiasco, this circus of an investigation. And the more Manitowoc and the state deny it, that it was a mess, the more we know that they're just covering like they did before. We know they have a pattern, blaming the last one on communication. When they wrongfully convicted Steve the first time, it was a breakdown of communication. There was no breakdown of communication. The communication was there. Just the people that were receiving the communique just decided not to do nothing. Wait 8 years and then write a report. Anyway, so that's about it, for today. Just basically wanted to talk about those few little points in the interview of Bobby Dassey there that I just found to be, well, mostly just untrue. They, provably false, or at least making very little sense. For instance, Teresa basically sitting on pause for 3 minutes while he's showering and getting dressed. I mean, like I said, doesn't take a long time to take a few pictures, and she's not going to sit there and take 40 pictures of a car that's going in Auto Trader. That's not like part of her budget, right? I mean, it's just, it's nobody wants to go through 40 pictures of some car that somebody's selling. It's just, you're only going to take a couple pictures. So what is Teresa doing with her time in the meantime while Bobby is showering and getting dressed and doing all that? Just sitting there on pause, right? Yeah, so it's... And then suddenly when he comes back to the window, oh, she started walking towards Stevens at that point. Yeah, it's just odd and bizarre. Doesn't really ring true. And like some of the other things like we were mentioning here. The whole thing with Osmonsen. That account doesn't ring true. That's, going to be the end of the new CASO. I may end up revisiting some aspects of it later on, obviously, depending on what, I find or at some point. But working on a few things right now, as some of you know, a Brendan video. For those of you who follow my Scott Davis coverage as well, I'm going to be having probably a real interesting one as far as that goes pretty soon. So anyways, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.